The exotic weapon HARDLIGHT is now an S plus tier weapon due to them buffing the perk called Fundamentals and auto rifles in general getting buffs the last sandbox update we had. So you want to focus on using the Void part of HARDLIGHT. Well, you could switch between Void and Arc, but ultimately you want the Void section of it. The reason for that is that it synergizes with Volatile Marksman quite well. Upon precision hits, you get volatile rounds with a Void weapon. Alright? Now that's going to mean more class ability energy on your Bolt Charge Titan builds. So use the Void element of it. You will get Fundamentals to proc. Look, I've got Fundamentals to proc there. Fundamentals is a 30% buff to the weapon. It's melting. HARDLIGHT's very good. Now there's different builds you can do with HARDLIGHT. Actually loads. There's loads. And that'll have to be explored at a later date on exactly all the other things that you can do with this weapon. But right now the strongest form of the gun is Void because of Volatile Marksman. At least on this build. On this build it's absolutely worth because Void weapons are the best weapons in the game now because of Volatile Marksman basically. So you would use the Void element of it. But you can swap to the Arc element and get amplified. So if you get multiple kills with HARDLIGHT as an Arc weapon, you will get amplified and you will get Fundamentals buff also. Okay? But you know, you're better off just with the Void because you're going to get more rally barricades, aren't you? Alright, so this starting section, we're just wanting to basically kill the champs. There's a mysterious ad mailing me or something. Don't know what's going on, but I think there's an ad teleporting behind me. Look, look, see that? There was some weird cabal behind us, and then when I look behind, he's not there. What's this? Horror D2? What was that? Ads freaking out. Right, I'm not going to take a relic with me for the skip. This is a skip. You're not skipping champs. You've just killed them. You'll still get platinum rating. This allows you to prep the room a little easier. I've dropped the relic for science. I'm going to show you HARDLIGHT damage against the Tormentor. I don't want to pick the relic up because I want to show you HARDLIGHT damage with Bolt Charge damage on the Tormentor. Okay, I hope we understand why I haven't picked it up. I've just explained it, haven't I? So, kill your turrets, and you want to go to the back of the map. That will spawn in the enemies. Okay? So when you come here, you'll get the checkpoint to spawn in, but you have the liberty of the turrets being killed already, because you've just sorted them out. Get a good pulse grenade down on top map, island, control. You need to get it under control, like I'm doing that right now. I actually get quite weak here, because I let the ads basically get out of control a little bit. But you have a super to pop because you don't need one for ages. So you may as well just go ahead and pop that. Now if you're doing the relic juggling like I showed you the other day, then that's different. You shouldn't be popping any supers. You need to juggle the relic. And I've taught you already how to do that. I don't need to teach you it again because this video is all about HARDLIGHT. So when you're behind a barricade, of course, when you get that volatile detonations, you're going to get that noticeable class ability energy. But HARDLIGHT's going to feel very powerful. Look at the damage it's doing. From extended ranges. I would estimate that HARDLIGHT's basically got the range of a pulse rifle. Maybe exceeding some rapid fire frame pulse rifles in range. That's how much range it's got. Now a portion of the damage it says does not have range drop off. I guess when the bullets ricochet, I think that's what it's talking about exactly. But first and foremost, I want to take down the shoulder pads with the LMG. I'm using retrofit because I want to take down these pads first, right? Then once the shoulder pads are taken off, I'm going to go to the DPS location. I've showed you 2-3 times this week. Show you it again. Makes it for easy DPS. I mean, you don't have, it's not absolute necessary on a Titan, but it's still nice as well. All right. So, yeah, we'll whip out a bit of the retrofit damage. Now, we're using Actium War Rigs because just look at the amount of damage we can do with retrofit and the amount of damage that we can do with HARDLIGHT, since we're going to be spamming HARDLIGHT and machine gun, it's actually kind of worth it to run Actium. Warwick's, that is. It actually is worth it. Because the build's doing everything for you. You can use Crest of Alpha Lupi, like I showed you. Or Curious of the Fallen Star when you use T-Crash. Or you could use, I suppose, Symphoceps. But this build isn't about meleeing at all. I even took Knockout off and put Touch of Thunder on for the Ion Trace energy off targets. When you pulsate a boss or a target, you get a lot of Ionic Traces when Touch of Thunder is equipped as an aspect. So this is the opposite of a melee based build. It's your static tank build entirely. Of just popping that barricade and getting the void detonations with HARDLIGHT or the machine gun, and then just relying on that damage basically. Right, we need platinum rank, so I'm going to do the same thing. Stop with the Riptide, right, and then use a super. Now we're going to back up. Look at this. We're playing Tekken 3 now because we've just avoided that guy's attack. He would have suppressed me there if I didn't move. See, obviously Fist of Havoc has a lot of benefits, but there's one con, it's quite slow, isn't it, in killing champs. So I knew that I could only do 1 or 2 slams, and then I have to back up. But the champ was basically killed on second phase anyways. A lot of benefits to running fists. I've spoken at length about why you should. I'll talk about it again later. But right now, Tormentor damage. So just look at the amount of damage that we're doing. 655 per crit here. HARDLIGHT itself is doing a lot of damage when... Look, fundamentals. So I'm not only getting ball charges, I'm doing 30% more damage with HARDLIGHT because of Volatile Marksman. Do you get how good the build is now? Very good. I would say it's almost as good as HARDLIGHT, if not better in some circumstance. If you're up against barrier champs, which this GM is not barrier champs, but if you are, I would rather actually use HARDLIGHT over the Monarch. Isn't that crazy? So that's how good this weapon is. That's how highly I'm rating it. It's potentially now within the top 5 best primaries in the game. As me educating you, saying, look, this is how good I think of it. That's how strong it is. Don't get me wrong, once Volatile Marksman leaves the game, HARDLIGHT will lose a bit of power, but there's a lot of room to make builds with HARDLIGHT now, because it's not just void builds. You can make arc builds with it and solar builds because of the fundamental buff. You need to play into adverbs. Okay, amplified, and if you get amplified or whatever it might be, or destabilizing rounds and so on and so forth. Massive damage to that unstop. I know there's ball charges in the mix, but I can tell in between those ball charges, HARDLIGHT's doing huge damage, really good. Worth to use it. Now you can swap between Void and Arc and do a bit of Arc killing because you get amplified from it, you see. So you can get free DR with HARDLIGHT. Okay, and that's on any class. What I've just told you is very important. Do you understand the importance? Let me repeat it because now I'm thinking about it as well. On any class that you run, if you run the Arc version of HARDLIGHT, if you get the multiple kill, you'll get amplified, and that's 3 damage resist. Okay? That is very powerful because Amplified's probably the best DR perk in the game. Not for the percentage. It's not about the percentage. It's about what it does in the meantime. It is giving you... The ads are less likely to track you. The Manticore effect. That alone makes it better than any other DR. Even though it's only 15%. 15%'s enough though. Okay? It's better than Frost Armor. Better than Woven Mail. Amplified I'm on about now. It's better than basically any other DR. But don't worry. Prismatic Titans have easy access to Amplified. So they're going to get it anyways. And a whole host of other classes. I'm just saying how this change to Amplified really has now made it full meta. You really want Amplified somewhere in your kit at any point this season in GMs. Most of the time. Most of the time at least. Okay, so this section, we're just dealing with the blights. You saw that with the unstops there, we melted them. I didn't really need to go into great detail. Obviously, taken unstoppables have been buffed. I mentioned it yesterday, and I made a video about it. And even a third-party website made an article about it, going over Reddit users' experience, commenting on the taken unstops and their buff. They credited a lot of Reddit users. They credited me as well. I can't remember the name of the website now. The Game Post, it's called. They made a full article about it, and they have images left and right showing you the difference of the shield. So for those who didn't believe me about the shield, it's already been confirmed. The shield is buffed. You need to check your eyesight then. If you don't think it's been buffed, you need to go to Specsavers. Go to Specsavers, tell them I sent you, because you seem to be not understanding the taken buff that happened. It's absolutely confirmed. Other Reddit users have confirmed this. When they tried to solo the Starcross mission, they noticed that, because there's a lot of phalanxes, isn't there, in Starcross? Now, I haven't done Starcross in ages, just because I don't really like the... Well, actually, I like the mission. No, it's all right. But there's no reason to go back and do it, is it? It's not like it's 0 hour. It's nowhere near as good as that. But I'm just saying that this is absolute true confirmed. Phalanxes have all been updated in the game. All right? Just because it wasn't in the patch notes doesn't mean that they didn't do it. They've done it. It's all confirmed. All right, so we're just skimmering our way over the traversal. Weird that there's Banes on the traversal. Why is that? Now, that's the thing about Banes. I'm going to kill these unstops. Now, I'm going to be using Jolt Pulse and Relic. Make use of the Relic. You can basically kill 3 overloads, maybe 4 with it if you're really careful with the Relic. I'm going to kill the first one with just my abilities. But let's talk about Banes and the problem with Banes. This is more about a problem. Alright, yesterday I had the worst luck. I got 2 Zealous Banes and 2 Hypernovas in one run. That's 4 bad Banes. Now, the days before that, I was never getting Drain Banes. I actually got a Drain Bane in that run as well. So I got 1 Drain, 2 Zealous, 2 Hypernovas. Can you believe that luck? That's really bad luck. So what they need to do with Banes, everybody, is that they need to have set pattern of Banes in GMs. They need to have set spawns of Banes. If it's a healing Bane, it's a healing Bane every time. If it's a Zealous Bane, it's a Zealous Bane every time. We need set rotations, because the randomized, it's no good for the game, the randomized Banes. It's not, like, imagine speedrunners. Alright, they get the wrong Bane, they've lost 30 seconds, they could have got world record. So, speedrunners won't like Banes, not randomised Banes at least, they'll hate it. It's screwing up their runs. Casual players won't like it because they won't have a clue what's going on sometimes. Like a Hypernova sets off behind a pillar, you don't know where he is. You can run away, but that's not the point. I'm saying we need to have Banes as not randomised, but they need to be highly curated on a GM basis. Per GM it needs to be curated that each GM has its own Banes in a set routine. That is it. This will help you master Banes. This will make everybody a lot more happier about them. That is what I think they need to do with Banes. But they're not going to touch Banes until Frontiers. But I'm just prompting everybody. You know, Frontiers is, 4 or 5 months away. Just preempt them before it comes out. Because if they don't change it, they're just going to aggravate players. Aren't they? Oh, it's still the same as what it was. Why didn't they change it? They had all the feedback. Bungie's getting all the feedback. They've got a huge resource of information on Reddit, YouTube, and Twitch to look at everything. They have so much information to survey what they need to do. And this is what they should do, because everybody benefits. I've told you, expert speedrunners benefit because they will be able to plan their runs better. Okay? Casual players will benefit because they can then master the system and then they become a master of Banes. And intermediate players will benefit as well because it's less of an annoyance where random Banes come up that you don't want. Give us the hardest Banes possible if you want, that's fine, but as long as it's in a set rotation, I don't mind. Alright, we've done a skip there at the bridge. Notice that we took out the darkness walls with a prism. I only learned that recently that you could do that, I didn't know that. but you can, and you just saw it. I just did it on the bridge. And it allows me to skip it a little bit better and use a super. All right, another user has mentioned that I should play up top. So I'm going to actually do that for players who are struggling to kill these ogres. It's coming to my attention. I think people are dying on this section. And that took me back because I was like, I don't expect people to be dying here, but I guess there is a possibility of it. And I shouldn't be ignorant, so I'm not going to be ignorant. I'm going to say, yeah, this is better, actually. Come up here on the Taken Blights, get a stun with your Riptide, or a Pulse Grenade, up to you, if you've got Sparkle Jolt, and then use the Cranium Look. Pick up a Cranium, because there's 4 Craniums on this section, I think. You may as well just pick one of them up. Look, it's saving so much damage, saving so much time and ammo. I mean, I've got all the ammo in the world. It would make no deal. It would be no big deal if I used my ammo here or not. But I'm just saying, look at how good this strat is. It's not a time save. It's a time loss in actual fact, if you actually want to know. You'd actually lose time by doing this because it takes time to set it up. You've got to jump up. You've got to jump back down. But look, for the people, for the players, use that strat. It's really good. Nothing wrong with it. I only learned it within the last day or two, that strat. I actually was not aware of it. I was not aware of it only till recently. Right, you need to get the 38% rifts and do not get the 50% rift. Pick up a fresh relic. This is relic number 2. Make sure you got a fresh relic. You're going to hit your last rift and stand on this Taken Blight. You're going to try and get a jolt down. It's more consistent if you get a Pulse Grenade. But you should be fine up here. Pulse Grenade, jolt, pick up your relic, boom, melt. If it's a Drain Bane Ogre, strafe. Because it could be. But yeah, look. Because what you need to understand about Banes as well, this is what I should have mentioned. Bane counterparts have more health. It doesn't matter what Bane it is. Their health is not, I wouldn't like to say doubled, but it's actually probably at least 30% more than a standard enemy type of its same counterpart. So if you get 2 Ultra Bite Ogres and one of them's a Bane, the Bane will actually have more health as well. It's not just his AI, it's health. 2 things are going on with that. So that's another reason to prioritize Banes. And in Fireteam game, especially when you're carrying people in a GM, you expert Sherpa players, you players need to allow the players you're teaching to tell them, look, when you do see a Bane, burst them down with me. That's what you need to do. A lot of fire teams are dying to Banes as well that I've read about over the last 8-10 weeks. No, longer than that, 2-3 months, however long Banes have been out. So yeah, it's not just solo players, fire team players are dying to it as well. The biggest advice is you got to mow them down with heavy. Machine guns are excellent with them. Linears, rockets, obviously, special weapon. Don't just primary them unless you've got an exotic primary on. Right, DPS, boss strat, pulse grenade to your left, and then to your right, get a stun with chill clip, Riptide. We're getting our stun. We're standing our ground as much as we can, and then we super. This is exactly why we got Fist of Havoc on. This is another reason why players who are not experts should run Fists, not T-Crash. On non-curious of the Fallen Star builds, if you're using Actium War Rig, if you're using Crest of Avaluba, if you're using Hoyle, if you're using Heart of Inmost Light, you put on Fist of Havoc. For rooms that are very ad dense, this GM's actually quite ad dense overall, isn't it? It is that case. For those types of GMs, you put on Fist because it can save it can clear out rooms. I don't know what it is about this T-Crash elitism. And I know where it came from, and it came from Scrub, but he's now there was a YouTube content creator called Scrub. He done some wrong things, and basically he left his YouTube. I'm not going to go too far into it, but he started the battle of Roman Super versus one-off supers, and he basically told everybody that you shouldn't use Roman supers. He actually scolded a few people on Reddit like really bad. I'm not just like, wow, I scold people, far worse than me. Call on people for using Glacial Quake, Behemoth and stuff. But I think what Scrub done to the community, where he said that Roman supers are for noobs, that's basically what he made out. was the wrong thing, because ever since then there's been some elitism about if you see a player with a Roman super equipped, they're a blueberry. There's automatic assumptions made. Like, I've got Fist of Havoc equipped right now. Does that mean I'm a blueberry? Does that mean I'm a noob? Does it? Because there is assumptions made. Don't get me wrong, sometimes there is a Titan. Now that was noob. That was a blueberry strat there. I post-nated the damn obstacle. But don't get me wrong, sometimes in LFG GMs there is a striker Titan that is hopeless with his super. And he pops his super when all the ads are just about to die and stuff like that. That does happen. But I'm just saying that this one style super versus Roman super elitism thing going on, and has went on now for ages since Scrub mentioned it. So whenever Scrub got scrubbed out, that would have been what, King's Fall or after King's Fall? Was it 2021? We're now 2025, so that's 4 years ago. I think so. I think it was 4 years ago, maybe 3. I'm not sure. But I'm just saying that still exists, where people don't want you on a Roman super. And it's completely wrong, because the game's changed. Roman supers now benefit a ×3 buff. Some Roman supers are much better than others. Fists is really good. It still needs a buff. Alright, it still needs to be a little bit better. I've explained how they can buff Fist. It's really simple. They just need to buff its jump while you're in your super, so that you can jump skyrocket in the air and slam a boss over and over like that. They would have to functionally change the jump in your Roman super though, because Fist of Havoc, like I've said all week, the damage is based on distance and height. So if you fist on the floor without jumping, you lose damage. You've lost a lot of damage. So it's got high ground as the super. But Bungie has not give us the tools to utilise the super properly, which I've already called for them to buff it. I've already asked. I asked a few days ago. That's what they need to do. Buff it so that there's a way in the game, like how we rocket jump with mountaintop. Same thing, but you haven't got mountaintop on. You just jump up in the air, straight up jump, and you're allowed to slam. Okay? That's exactly what it needs. Now look at the amount of damage that we was doing to the boss with HARDLIGHT. We was proccing barrier. Because of volatile marksman and everything, it's proc and destabilizing rounds. So we can do easy DPS to the boss with HARDLIGHT. Did you see it? It's actually better than Le Monarch for damage on this boss. Because Le Monarch's not barrier, is it? It's overload. Although the poison is counted. But if you hit the boss's shield, you'll only get poison damage tick. You won't get actual base Le Monarch damage. Unless you do crit him specifically. Which you don't always, because the shield's rotating all the time, isn't it? We used we melted down the Minotaurs on right side there. We're going to pick up a cranium, and we're going to start working the room. Alright? So, we're going to melt all of the blights apart from one. Obviously, we're keeping with the theme of the strat for the entire week. People are going to want to know why I've got another solo GM. I'm going to tell you why I've got another one. Whether this is my 8th or 9th run yet. Not my 8th or 9th video, but my 8th or 9th run, I think. I'm aura farming. That's what I'm doing. Just aura farming it. The sandbox is really good right now. That's exactly why I'm doing a lot of GMs. Because there's a lot of unexplored areas, I feel. And still till now, there's a lot of unexplored weapons and builds. Because the sandbox really did change that much. That last patch was really good for the game. Like, really good. So, there's a lot to still explore with GMs. Because they only just come out this week, didn't they? I know the sandbox been changed a month or 3 weeks, whatever. Yeah, maybe so. But GMs have only been out 1 week. And things change when GMs come out. Because the sandbox is slightly independent. Grandmaster Nightfalls have an independent meta. As opposed to what the general game does have. Things switch up a little bit when we get to GMs. In terms of what's strong. Some items get more powerful. Some items get less powerful when GMs come out. Right, take out the last blight. Manipulate boss. And we're going to do... The boss has seen us here, so I have to melt this champ down quickly. He's seen me, and I got a Hypernova. What? So, yeah, we're going to post grenade. This is exactly why we run Spark of Shock, by the way. because I wouldn't have been able to stun quickly with Riptide in that exact moment. So do you see how it's beneficial to run a jolted pulse grenade? I saw a lot of people saying that you should stun unstops with flashbangs, which is a good idea, yes. But imagine if I did have flashbang on, I wouldn't have done what I did there as good. So the pulse grenade comes in really handy. Alright, it just comes in really handy for that. So I don't recommend that you run flashbang on a Striker Titan. The reason for that is because you're going to lose a lot of damage as a result. Pulse grenades generate a lot of ionic traces with Touch of Thunder. So if you're struggling to stun an unstop, it's simple, Riptide. It really is that simple. Tenacious Mastery, no, not as good this week, we've said, but that's just this week. Once Mars Battleground GM comes out, Tenacious Mastery will be back to full power and will be very, very good in the game because it'll stun the barriers in Battleground Mars tomorrow and the unstops. Very easy. I think there's only one taken unstoppable in Battleground Mars. It's Cap Point C. But if you cheese it, there isn't one. So you're good. So yeah, Tenacious is only nerfed this week, people. It's just this week. It's not the entire season. Don't worry about it. I feel as though like there was like millions of Tenacious Mastery users that couldn't wait to use their Tenacious God roll in Grandmasters to then find out this week it wasn't very good. So it's pissed a lot of people off. It is really good though. That's the thing about it. I think people are slightly over-exaggerating with it. It's the unstoppable buff. That's all it is. You can get around it. You can make it work. It's what your power level is. You know, if you're 2025, don't be soloing a GM. You're wasting your time. That time spent on a solo GM, you could be leveling up. Because getting to 2025 to 2030 is actually rather a quick process. You could quickly level up in a few hours to that level. Everything holds to a grind when you get to 2030. I should know. Everything holds to a grind, and your level and process after 2030 is much more because of XP. That's assumed that you have max pinnacle score, by the way. That's assumed on that. Once you get max pinnacle score, only XP will get you up then. And the XP constraints start to get higher and higher after plus 10 artifact power. So when you get to plus 11, plus 12, it starts to slow down, and eventually you all catch up to where I am, which is 2033. So you're fine. You'll eventually get there anyways. And you'll have more seasonal triumphs than me by that time. In a few weeks' time, you'll have that many seasonal triumphs. Bad fists there. You'll have that many seasonal triumphs that you'll go up automatically, really high level. And with the amount of Pathfinder resets that you're doing, you'll also go up quite a lot as well. Right, so we're going to deal with these Thrall first, because they are annoying. I'm going to try and round them up. We've got a Pummel Taken Thrall, which the Seismic Strike's really good for that, because it just auto-tracks them and melts them down. I like it. We're going to use a bit of LMG, because we haven't had a chance to use it. We've been having that much fun with HARDLIGHT that I haven't really had much chance. I have used the machine gun, don't say I haven't, because you did see the DPS against the Tormentor. So that I absolutely have been using it, but not as much as I would have liked. I guess because a lot of this GM relies on craniums. And it's a great little mechanic, but the replayability of this GM ends up having you use the cranium more than you build, which isn't the best thing in the world. So I think having too many craniums in this is kind of too OP. But that's the nature of the GM. And it's still a fantastic GM. I'm just saying you start to use less of your build because the cranium does that much more damage than anything else in the game. There's no weapon that can out DPS a cranium in this game. Not one single one. You would have to get the crafting bug back to compete with the cranium. That's how good a cranium is. Do you understand how good it is? Mastering the cranium is to master this GM. Once you master the cranium, you're good. Any build will work once you've done that. Right, we're spawn killing this unstop. We haven't got super, so I'm being a little risky here. But we're going to get it. Okay, so we're behind our barricade. We're going to get a stop. Look at the blights. We get our super just perfect time. That's what I was banking on, by the way. Newer players, you should not have done what I just did. That was risky. Well, it wasn't risky because I knew I would get it, but for newer players, you might not have got it and then die to the blights. So the answer is to wait a little longer for your super if you need to. Because it's absolute worth to super those ads. It controls the entire ad spawn. Because look, now the entire room is free. Now it's free for me just to do cranium damage on this boss. So now we're just doing cranium damage. Let's talk about how HARDLIGHT performed in this. Very good on the destabilizing rounds volatile marksman synergy with this weapon, because it's applying a void debuff, so you get fundamental 30% damage bonus with HARDLIGHT. Potentially one of the best void weapons in the game, and it can be used in multiple ways. So for example, I could have switched to arc more and got more amplified buffs, but I was getting plenty of amplified anyways because of Storm's Keep, wasn't I? But for example, if I play on a warlock, I can use it more on the arc, or a hunter, I can use it more on the arc as well. This weapon is now a very good GM weapon, is HARDLIGHT. It used to be back in 2017 as well, because of match game. That's been removed years ago. But we're now back into a situation where HARDLIGHT is now practically one of the best auto rifles in the game. Top 5 exotic primaries in the game, I think, in my opinion, just because of how powerful it is. It really is that good. So you need to make sure you give it a go, and give it a go for next week Battleground Mars as well, because there's barrier champs. It's effectively a barrier weapon this season. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.